Hello everybody. All right, as requested, I'm going to do a couple of different videos today. The first one, I'm going to start with floating and sinking. So I'm going to show you the basics. So first thing you're going to have to learn in order to float or sink is going to be cancel placement. Cancel placement means, so if you pick something up out of its original place, okay, you pick it up and you need to have, I always use a plushie. That's my go-to. I always just put a plushie in my number one spot. So that way you always know where it's at. Because when you pick something up and you go to cancel place it in a different area, you're going to use your plushie in your number one spot. For PC, you're going to use your number button. So I'm going to hit my number key, my number one, and you see my plushie comes out. And what that does is it cancel places. It's a temporary placement of that object. So if I move plots, let me switch plots. So if I switch plots and I come back, that table will be back in its original position. Forgot what plot I was on for a second. So now you can see that that is back in its original position. So it is a temporary placement. It gives you the ability to manipulate items in the game. Okay. So with that said, once you figure out how to cancel place, and with PC or with PlayStation or Switch or Xbox, any of those consoles, you have to do a jump. And when you jump and you grab an item, it keeps your inventory open. So that way you can see where your item is. And at that point, you can use your controller to slide over your inventory and select something out of your inventory. But you have to do the jump, which I do have a video out showing you how to do that. All right, so now we're going to start with floating. Anytime you float or sink anything, you're going to have an anchor item. So I usually use anything that's easy to hide in plain sight. So I like to use pavers. So to float, you have to pick up your shelf, and this is what you're going to need. You don't need this many walls. Depending on how high you want to float something, you might need that many walls. But you also have to watch how high you go. A lot of times if you go too high, the game will pull it back into your lamp zone when you load back in. So you're going to grab your shelf from its original position, and you're going to go up however high you're wanting to float something. And that's where your cancel placement is going to come into place. I'm going to press my number one. You see the fish come out, and then I'm going to press my cancel button on I use a controller or your mouse, whatever you use, and put that plushie back away. Okay. You're then going to need stairs, which I did not. Wait, where are they? I think they're inside. Did not bring them with me. And then I'm going to place, let's do the moth. I'm going to place my plushie onto my paver. Okay, see that's attached to the paver. And then I'm going to come down here and I'm going to pick up my shelf and I'm going to set it back down. And what that does is it's going to reset your shelf. If you don't do that, then when you go to do your next item, it's going to mess up. So now I can take this and I have a floating moth. Okay. Now you can use this for pretty much anything that you want to float. The only difference is let's say you want to float a bale of hay, right? You're going to have your anchor item. And now I'm going to tell you that that is not going to stick, correct? To that piece. So what you're going to do at that point is you're going to grab a pillar or a bowl or anything place it onto that object, and you're going to group select from the pillar. And then you should be able to pick up your anchor piece and your item will be stuck to it. So always test that. All right, so now pull it up a little bit, cancel it. You can use anything to cancel place with, by the way. If it's an object that you can put down, it's an object you can cancel place with. I just usually stick with the basic until you learn what you're doing. Oh, see, I forgot to put my group select. Place it on there. Pull that down. Grab your anchor piece. Don't grab your anchor piece. Come back here and pick up your whole shelf. I try to get into the habit of doing that because that's how I need to teach you to start with. And you'll have a floating bale of hay. Now, if you want an object floating at an angle, you're going to pick up your shelf and you're going to angle it. So whatever angle you have your shelf at is whatever angle your object is going to float at. Okay? Put your anchor piece on the shelf. Angle it at whatever angle you are wanting to have it at. So let's say we're gonna make the bee look like it's flying. You're gonna grab your anchor piece, and now here's the other thing: is however far away from your shelf that you move to the left is going to be how far up your item is going to be floating. Okay, so we're gonna go out to here and cancel it. And now here's the other thing. Your shelf is tipped to the left. So if you put your bee or whatever item onto your anchor piece this way, he's going to be floating towards, like he's going towards the sky. If I turn him towards the shelf, it's going to be like he's going down. Okay? So either way you want your object to be floating. Grab, as soon as I can get a hold of it, my anchor piece. And there you go. And you can just move your anchor piece at that point to wherever you're wanting your bee to be, or your object you're floating. And the same thing goes for furniture. So I did an Alice in Wonderland plot, and everybody was wondering how I floated my flowers. Okay, these flowers right here. I did it the same way. Put my anchor piece, and in this one, I actually did it completely sideways. So that way it would flip sideways and the flower was facing you. So just like before, with furniture items, you have to put a pillar on there. So what that does is that recognizes when you place that table onto here using the pillar group select, that is recognizing the pillar being set on here. So it's another little trick method. So I'm going to grab my anchor piece and I'm going to pull it a little ways. I'm not going to pull it a whole bunch. Cancel. Group select. Place. Pick up. Grab my anchor piece. And now you have a floating flower. And I put faces on my flowers in my Alice in Wonderland plot. Now, the other part of floating is if you can set a plushie or an item onto something. So let's say I have this sitting outside and I want to have anything floating from it. You can do that. You want to set your object onto the floor piece, just like you would before. You're going to bring it up, cancel it, grab your object you're going to float from it, set it on it, reset your shelf, and now you've got a little ladybug floating from your table, so you don't have to hide an anchor piece that way. It saves you from having to do that. So that's just a little bit of basics on how to float. If you have any questions, I'll do some more later that are a little bit more in detail on like how to float away, how to extend it out. Like for instance, I floated these objects from these anchors into the water. So I'll get into that a little bit later, but this gives you basics to be able to play with, to kind of see how well you do with the minimal of floating. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I hope this helps and you enjoy. Thank you. Love y'all.